Good afternoon. The time is now 3:31, and I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Human Services Committee. A copy of the agenda for this meeting can be found on the county website under the tab for the legislature. Please silence your cell phones and electronic devices. And at this time, I ask that you please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Doreen, would you be kind enough to call the roll?
Absolutely. Amo, Anagnestakis.
Present.
Ellers.
Here.
Ramos. Here. Hotel. Here. Tui.
Here.
Sutherland.
Here. Okay. Great. So first up, we have Christian Farrell, Director of Veteran Services Agency. How are you?
Oh, fine. Jan, how are you? Thank you.
Okay, so today we have a request for supplemental appropriation to the capital projects budget for Veterans Memorial Cemetery Columbarium project. This project has been approved under the 2023 capital plan as capital project number 134. Upon approval, a new capital project will be created, $150,000 bonding, legislative request number 180.
So move.
Second.
Okay, Hotel and Tui, thank you so much. Okay,
So again, thanks for having me here. The Columbarium project, we at this veteran cemetery currently, there is a columbarium, which is it's an opportunity for those who choose to be buried at the veteran cemetery to have their cremains put into the columbarium. It has 96 vaults or niches that can be 48 on each side. That current one, which dates back to a little over 10 to 15 years, is full now, or just has one or two left. So the idea with this was to have a matching columbarium, which is what it is. And it gives the, again, veterans and their families an opportunity, depending on how they want to be buried, traditionally or being cremated, a different choice. They can be put in the ground. For this particular option, it's a $400 fee that they pay. And again, it'll be 96 units, matching the existing columbarium that's in place at the veteran cemetery.
How long does that take to construct?
It's, I don't know how long it takes to construct, but it's a company down in Georgia is the one that won the bid for it. And we hope that in the month of August, early August, that it will actually be coming up here and we'll have it in place shortly within the next couple of months.
So anybody up?
Granted, and yeah.
So if you use up those last one or two, there's arrangements to hold on to the.
Yeah, hold on to
You
remains.
hold on to them?
Yeah, we know, often the funeral home does, sometimes a family even does, because it's not uncommon for a family who chooses to have their loved one cremated.
Yeah.
It can be years until they actually go ahead with the burial. And you can, you can, the cemetery, just to be clear, if you're buried traditionally, you're going in the ground. If you're being cremated, you can be put in the ground, yeah. But this is just a different option that people choose.
Thanks. Thank you, Chairman.
great, yeah, sure thing. Anybody else have any questions? No? Okay, it sounds like a great project. Okay, terrific. Call into question, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, so moved.
Yeah, but-
Anything else going on? You wanna?
No, I know Lori, West Point, I was just, in the Highland Falls area, just so you know, because it was something that we talked about earlier, at the department head meeting, but we were working with a quadriplegic veteran in here, and we did, with a lot of help with Brendan Casey from emergency management, we were able to, because the issue was not only his home damage, but his nurse who cares for him couldn't get there because she's from down in Rockland County.
Right.
So with a number of different people, we were able to get him to Good Samaritan Hospital. And then now he's actually at the Crown Plaza in Suffern hotel for a couple of weeks to figure out what
And the
happens
nurse
next.
can visit.
Yeah,
them,
nurse,
so,
I'm getting
yeah.
joining with the nurse,
He,
his girlfriend, yeah.
He was one of the many roads that turned into a raging river, and he had it twofold coming in behind his house from the brook, and then also coming in down off of the street, runs parallel to theirs and down in, because it sat down in a basin. And if you went there, it looked like a war zone. The neighbors' cars were actually tossed into the creek. The one was up against this little bridge abutment for several days after, till they can get a crane in to get it out. And I knew he was in a very precarious situation down there with his neighbors, and so I'm glad he's safe. I knew when he got evacuated to Sam,
Yeah.
and
Then they
he's
hopefully
actually,
found.
some people tend to think, well, quadriplegic veteran, that, they're of our grandparents' age, and he's actually a younger man. So glad that we were able to help him. And, you can, I don't know how you do it, but the American Legion Home in Highland Falls, the O'Connor Doyle American Legion Home, they have opened their doors to county services as a drop-off coordinating point for clothing that people are donating, because the food and everything else is at Sacred Heart. And Commander John Flynn
Mhm.
has been doing a phenomenal job bringing volunteers in and his members. And it's a very small post, and they don't have a whole lot of money to pay for the extra utilities. I've been trying to find something for them, so if you can think of anything that could help me give him something.
So, well, certainly, it's not host perhaps, but any resident or, member of that host, by all means, have them call our office, because there is, again, well, it may not be the agency directly, but the not-for-profit that we work very closely with, Committee for Families of War Veterans, is
Yeah.
definitely set up to do some things like that, help with utility
John
bills.
is a war veteran
Yeah,
himself.
so by all means, have them call.
Yeah, I definitely will. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you so much for everybody, all the coordinated efforts there to help this individual. So it's great.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, and next up, we have Commissioner Miller of Social Services. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Okay, so we have a monthly report.
So just a continuation of the discussion, certainly our staff, Rich Magooch, has been the human services lead for this effort. He has been doing a fabulous job from coordinating Red Cross to supporting food and volunteers and mental health supports being out there. We've had staff on the ground in Highland Falls really since the beginning, and really appreciate all of our staff's efforts. 311. The call takers at 311, their calls went up to 1,300 this past week. Typically, they're somewhere around 1,000. So, and then all the additional calls that have been answered by staff from the Department of Social Services and the Medical Reserve Corps. So really, really great work. I know there's a lot of work to be done, and we'll continue to be there to support and appreciate that we have such awesome staff that have volunteered to help and do something different than their daily duties. So,
Thank you, you guys. Every county department across the board has come through for my community in this disaster.
Yeah.
I was on the phone, I was out in the storm with the county executive, and on the phone with Brenda Casey, and on the phone with Mary Pat, and getting Red Cross in. We were able to get the shelter open as they were evacuating the people out of Wine Green and out of homes that were being flooded. And Red Cross had a little difficulty getting here, but they were here by midnight that night. And when you think about it, most of the evacuations were happening between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. that night. For them to be here that quickly and respond as I was making the calls and trying to coordinate help. And we had our priest, Father Tatorchak, with Sally Dorsch, said, yes, we'll take care of this part, you take care of your part. It was, and then the support of the staff and the responsiveness of our Department of Social Services, every department, but they have been there. I've called them at 9, 10 o'clock at night, some of your staff that's.
I'm surprised where you get all these phone numbers from. She's really resourceful.
No doubt.
Yeah, it's really
No doubt.
been well done, well coordinated. We're sorry for the community, for all of the individuals who are displaced, and hope that the recovery efforts continue smoothly and that there's support for them to be whole again.
Please, when you have your department meeting, I mean, I've expressed it individually, but from the bottom of my heart, thank everybody for going literally above and beyond the call of duty in coming to support these people who were literally shell shocked.
Well, it's what it's what we as a county do, it's what we as a community do.
Yeah. They're
So,
just
That's
amazing.
great, that's
Yeah.
great to hear.
Yeah, it is, right. You're absolutely right. Great people. Okay, so temporary assistance, we are starting to see, a little bit of an increase, but family assistance pretty much stays stagnant, safety not the same. Obviously, workforce issues impact employment. When our caseloads are down, employment opportunity, people to put employment are down. So employment and training has been creative in the work that they're doing in absence of people to serve. Small decrease in our SNAP benefits this month in our caseload sizes. So, not really understanding why that's happening, but applications are still high. 40% of our applications are denied, and 85% of those are denied for people being over income. So when you think about that, if there's a way for it to stop before it becomes an application, because over income is just an automatic no. But we still have to process the whole application. So that's something we've talked to the state about. We have 40% less applications to process if we could stop it at income. So we'll see how that works out. Obviously, the peak season is closed, and you see the high number of payments for 2022, 2023 year. We're currently doing cooling, but we had 25,000 payments in this winter season, more than any of the previous years. Paper's so thick, I think I've got 2 pages. I know, right? It's rare. Where does this come from? Long short, well, the next 2 pages, show, they're self-explanatory in our sheltering. We talked to 386 total temporary shelter options, and they're all full. And we are into motels and hotels, and, very sad for me. It has me thinking forward. Every home we lose is another family displaced, whether it's from a fire or a flood. So very concerning, and we'll continue to try to plan.
On this topic with the hotels, Darcy, I was just at the prior meeting on emergency services, the health department. And someone brought up that you're having a hard time placing in hotels, even if there's no vacancies at all in Orange County. Are you finding that, or what are you doing activities?
Well, that can happen. And what can happen when that happens is we would be like other counties and have to look outside of county. Right. So we work very hard to try to keep our families in county. To my understanding, as of today, we're still housing only in Orange County.
Okay.
Correct.
Good.
But that could happen.
Thank you.
The Medicaid recertification has our staff hopping. They're doing well. The state has put some safeguards in place, some safety nets in place, following obviously federal guidelines for the rewind to hopefully not have people fall through the cracks who are eligible for Medicaid. So for example, if somebody's had a change of address since recertifications had to happen and we get return mail, we're not closing that case. We're continuing to pursue to try to connect with the folks to get them to get the information to us we need to keep the Medicaid active. This obviously being well behind, but as of October 2023, we had 1,000, we received this on October 23. No, that's can't be right. This has to be October 2022. They put the wrong date in there. Sorry. Somebody did it. I'm like, how is that possible? We haven't even reached October 2023 yet. 138,519 individuals. And our caseloads and child protective services remain pretty neutral across the board. Every situation is intense. As I look at it, the stories from yesterday and today run through my mind, and you can imagine keeping children safe is a big job in Orange County and every county.
We're 387, child protective services. That seems extraordinarily high compared to, is that correct?
Well, that's-
387
It's more typical of our previous, prior to COVID numbers. So those numbers aren't surprising to us, but you're right, they're trending back upward. If you look at 2020, in the early part of the year, there we had 399. 2019 has 413 for May. That time of year, as school is coming to a close, is typically, before school ends. Oftentimes, if there's concerns, a call will be made in. So there's times a year when we have a higher percentage, and that is consistent across that time. March is also a big month. It's the end of the third quarter market period, so we get a lot of calls during that time. And, note that this is total calls and then how we break them down. So in May, 230 of those cases went to FAR, which means that, they went to traditional response. I apologize. 157 went to FAR. So 157 of them were likely school, non-attendance, truancy, neglect, potential cases. The other 230 are more serious allegations. Raise the age numbers stay pretty consistent. To my knowledge, raising the lower age, we've only had one referral for raising the lower age. And just the raise the age is consistent. I think there was an incident that happened recently, which will probably see pretty big numbers come June and July based on that incident. But overall, continuing to collaborate with multiple departments, mental health, social services, probation, to provide supportive services and try to keep these youth from going further into the juvenile justice system. Care numbers just consistently reducing, down at 215. We have, I think we talked when we first did it, but we have the state funded a substance use disorder specialist to be co-located with our child welfare. We added another FTE because the numbers were so high. Last month, they received 100 referrals. That means of the calls that went into the hotline, 100 of them qualified for needing substance use disorder support. So I think that's having a pretty good impact of getting support in immediately. So as soon as we receive the call, the referral's made, they co-respond, just as they do with domestic violence situations. And we are managing to keep children safely in their homes with their families. And that's part of the reason why we see this reduction in foster care numbers. It continues to decline. The acuity of foster care youth is pretty high because we have such a large percentage who are 16 and older, not wanting to follow the rules.
Yes, so just there something.
Did you notice since pandemic, post-pandemic, there are a lot of people they were in the process of being adoptions through the foster care system to get these children into permanent forever homes.
Yes.
Have you seen that number come back up to pre-pandemic levels? Or do you think, because I can't tell who was placed in permanent homes or who returned to their homes.
Yeah.
I was just looking to see if you knew, and that's a great news that you're able to keep them in their homes and get the support that the parents and the child needs and work that out. But for the kids who are not able to go back for whatever reason, just trying to figure out the permanent.
Of these, if you look at the 215 total, 16 of them are currently in pre-adoptive homes. So that means their goal is adoption.
Mhm.
The rest of them are either return to parent for independents.
Okay.
So I don't have the breakdown of what the percentages are of the other two, but 16 of them are going into adoptive homes. There was a period of time when obviously we all know there were limits on everything, but court was dealing with most crucial matters
Yeah.
in their limited capacity at that time. So we have caught up with the number of adoptions that have been delayed during that
Right,
time.
that's what I was trying to
Which
see.
is
if it-
very
if- And
positive.
then they're back to like a normal processing schedule.
Yes, yep, they absolutely are. There's only one that shows in this month, but yes, they are on top of those.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks, sure.
Adult Protective, we have talked many times about the increase in guardianship, meaning that there are folks in our community, typically those of a later age, who don't have anyone else to support them and they're unable to make decisions for themselves solely independently. And they request guardianship. We, in social services, I could become a guardian. Our Adult Protective Services manages and supports them in their life. That caseload has risen dramatically through the years, and we have added another staff just to support them. So we're hopefully managing that caseload much better, but that is our concern for Adult Protective Services. Child Support Division, we're still running on the high because of the best, big counties across the state. They're doing well. Special investigation units, again, we're on top of both our fair hearings and investigation. I did hear just yesterday that we are being assigned a new attorney for the district attorney's office. So we look forward to building that relationship.
That's it. Does anybody have any questions?
Maybe I don't feel as hot in here as it just. I
Not time. No.
feel like I'm on a hot seat here.
Yeah, I thought it was me.
Lord.
Doing on purpose to keep it.
I wondered.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Miller. I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay.
Awesome.
All in favor?